Welcome to English Simple Hub. We are diving deep today into what feels like one of the biggest challenges for so many people, getting that top score, a band 9, in the IELTS speaking test. And our focus is going to be razor sharp. We're just looking at part 1, and specifically that really common topic of study.
And this deep dive, it's really your accelerated path. You should think of it that way. We've gone through the resources, and we know exactly what examiners are listening for.
Right.
This isn't just about general fluency. It's about, well, kind of weaponizing language. Our whole mission here is to show you the complex structures, the high-level vocabulary that just immediately signals to the examiner, this is a band 9 candidate.
That's it. And we're really cutting through the noise here to focus on what really matters.
The big two.
The big two, grammatical range and lexical resource. I mean, together that's, what, a whopping 50% of your total score?
Exactly. Half the battle is right there. And if you can just deploy, say, a handful of the high-impact phrases and structures we talk about today, you've basically secured a shortcut to impressing that examiner from the very first question.
Okay, let's get into it.
You know, the material we've been looking at, it's just fantastic on this point because it really emphasizes density.
Density. What do you mean by that?
I mean, how much complexity you can pack into a really short part 1 answer.
Okay, so it's about signaling that advanced control, like right away.
Immediately, from the very first sentence. So let's start where the test starts. Let's talk grammar, the foundation. That's 25% of your grade right there.
Okay, let's unpack that. The questions in part 1, they seem so simple, it's almost deceptive.
It is.
The examiner kicks off with the absolute basics, do you work or are you a student? And if you just say, I'm a student, well, you've used the simple present tense and, I guess, achieved nothing impressive.
And that's the trap. That is the trap. To lift that answer immediately, we need to move away from the simple present. We need to get into the continuous tenses.
So what's the first move?
The first strategic move is to use the present continuous tense. So, for example, I'm currently studying international relations at the University of Oxford.
Okay, I can almost hear people listening and thinking, wait a second, isn't present continuous, like, pretty simple grammar?
Yeah.
Why would that push me into a higher band?
It's a great question. And grammatically, yes, it's foundational. But the thing is, what we see in high-scoring models is that so many intermediate candidates, they just rely on the simple present or the simple past.
They just live there.
They live there. They completely neglect the continuous tenses. So when an examiner hears a continuous tense, even a basic one, it shows you can actually use different forms.
Yeah.
It's an immediate, super easy signal of range.
That's a key distinction, isn't it? Showing range, not just random complexity. Yeah. Okay, so let's build on that. We've moved from I'm a student to I am studying. The next question is almost always, what are you studying? We need to build on that foundation.
Absolutely. And this is your moment. This is where you can show some really advanced control.
Right.
You do that by using the present perfect continuous tense.
Okay.
So don't just say, I study literature. You say something like, I've been studying business for about 3 years now, and I'm really enjoying the specialized modules this semester.
Talk us through that. Why does that specific, the present perfect continuous, score so highly? What's the magic there?
Well, think of it like a grammatical bridge. It connects an action that started in the past, say, 3 years ago, and it really emphasizes that the action is ongoing. It's continuing right up to this present moment.
Oh, okay.
And that shows control over time, over aspect. It proves you can handle dynamic situations in a sentence. A band 9 candidate uses tense to show duration, not just, a static fact.
That is a really powerful move to make so early on.
Right.
But if we want to show, like, the maximum grammatical range,
The gold standard.
the gold standard, we have to bring in the third conditional. This is where you're reflecting on the past, on hypothetical situations about your studies.
Exactly. The third conditional is one of those structures that, it just lights up the examiner's checklist for complex language. You use it to talk about how things could have been different in the past.
And for anyone listening who's maybe feeling a bit nervous about trying to use that, let's just, quickly break down how it works.
Sure. You're just talking about 2 parts, 2 clauses. You have the if clause, which uses the past perfect so, had plus the past participle.
Right.
And then the main clause, which uses a modal like would, could, or might, plus have, plus the past participle.
So an example for this study topic might be something like,
You could say, if I had worked harder at school, I could have studied medicine. But honestly, I wouldn't have enjoyed the intense pressure. And see what you've done. You've used the structure flawlessly, you've reflected on a hypothetical past, and you've given a personal nuanced opinion all at once. That's the complexity that gets you to band 9.
Yeah, you compare that to the low-scoring answer, which would be like, I regret not studying medicine.
So simple. Simple language, simple structure. The third conditional just elevates that whole reflection.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so we've locked down the architecture, the grammar. That's 25%. But even the best-built house needs, the finishing touch.
The furniture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other 25% of the score. Lexical resource. The richness of your vocabulary. How do we stop sounding basic and start sounding, well, brilliant?
It all starts with avoiding basic repetition. If the examiner asks, do you like your studies? And your answer is, yes, I like my studies. You've just repeated their words. You've offered zero variety.
A dead end.
A total dead end. The goal is to introduce language that expresses emotion and nuance.
So the simplest upgrade is probably just using adverbs to strengthen your verbs.
Yeah. Precisely. Instead of just, I like my course, you go for, I absolutely love my course. Or maybe, I genuinely dislike that module. The verb itself might be simple, but pairing it with an adverb like absolutely or genuinely, it just makes the expression so much stronger, more sophisticated.
And then there's that brilliant idiom that came up in the source material. As courses go. It's great. It sounds so natural.
That phrase is fantastic. It's fantastic because it means when you compare it to the average or the typical one, this one is good. It shows you can use idiomatic language, which is a major, major signal for band 9.
Let me just challenge that for a second, though. If I'm in the test, I'm trying to squeeze in all these idioms like as courses go, isn't there a risk of sounding, I don't know, rehearsed?
That's a crucial point.
Especially in part 1.
Yeah, and if you deploy it awkwardly, then yes. But the beauty of As Courses Go is that it's so conversationally flexible. It sounds natural because it's offering instant perspective. You don't need 5 idioms. You just need 1 or 2 used perfectly. Dropping it in once, early on. As Courses Go, my literature program is fantastic. That shows control, not just that you memorize something. A band 9 speaker sounds comfortable, not like they swallowed a dictionary.
That is excellent context. Okay, let's talk about fluency boosters. These are those, those great little phrases of honesty that let you pause and think, but you sound sophisticated while you're doing it.
Yes. These are your secret weapons. They boost fluency and help you get that conversational tone. We have 3 that are basically interchangeable, to be honest, quite frankly, and to be perfectly honest.
How do they actually improve fluency?
Well, they buy you half a second. Instead of saying, I like my course, you can just insert one. Quite frankly, I find the workload challenging, but the subject matter is fascinating. It just makes your speech sound less hesitant, more dynamic. It sounds like you're thinking in English.
Okay. But what if the honest answer is, complicated? We need words for expressing dislike, from strong dislike to something a bit more in the middle.
Let's start with strong dislike. If you genuinely cannot stand a module, use the expression, I can't stand my statistics module. It's direct, it's idiomatic, and it shows strong emotion very clearly.
But maybe you don't hate the whole course, you just aren't that excited about it. For that kind of milder, more nuanced dislike, what do we have?
You have some excellent, more moderate options. You could say, I don't particularly enjoy my course, or the slightly more informal, I'm not that keen on my course.
Right.
And you combine that with a fluency booster, you get a perfect answer. To be perfectly honest, I'm not that keen on the mandatory research modules, but the course is enjoyable overall. You've shown balance and used high-level vocabulary.
Nailed it. We've got the structure, we've got the basic emotional responses. Now we need to add the color, the detail about student life itself. What's the specific vocabulary for the experience of studying?
This is where we go from just answering the question to providing rich detail. So let's start with the course structure and variety. If your studies are always changing, a great phrase is, no 2 days are the same.
Ooh, I like that. It immediately suggests variety and unpredictability, which I imagine scores well.
It does. It's a sophisticated way to describe a schedule. You can also use specific terms like, your course offers a great mix of practical and theory classes. That shows you understand the elements of how education works.
Okay, let's talk about the people, the atmosphere. You can't just say your classmates are nice.
No, we need more. You could say they are really chill but incredibly supportive. Chill there means relaxed and calm, which helps define that atmosphere.
And if the social side is just great?
Then you can use a more informal but still high-scoring phrase like, the people on my course are a right laugh. It just means they're good fun. All of that leads to a great atmosphere.
What about the lecturers, the professors? How do we describe them in a powerful way?
Use strong verbs and adjectives. So instead of the teacher is good, you say the lecturers are engaging and that they bring the subject to life.
That's so much better.
It conveys a much deeper level of impact. Or if they're helpful, you could mention your professor always gives positive feedback.
Okay, that covers the positive stuff. Now, let's get into the vocabulary I think most students really need. Describing the workload and the difficulty. This is where people just say hard or busy.
Exactly. And we have a whole spectrum of words here. Let's start on the heavy end. You can use terms like heavy workload or describe the pace as pretty intense.
And if that work is just taking all your energy, what's the right word for that?
It's draining. And if it requires intense focus, a lot of brain power, we call it taxing.
Taxing, right.
And then don't forget the descriptions for the assignments themselves. You can talk about having tight deadlines, nonstop assignments, or that classic exaggeration, I feel like I'm working almost 24/7.
Let's try to model that. So if the examiner asked about your biggest challenge, you could put it all together.
You could. You could say, to be honest, I've been studying nonstop for the last 3 months, and it's getting pretty draining. The workload is incredibly taxing, and we've had nothing but tight deadlines.
And right there, you've got a fluency booster, the present perfect continuous, and 3 high-level lexical items.
That's a Band 9 answer.
It's a Band 9 answer. And for the really negative experiences, we have to go beyond just boring.
Oh, yes. You have powerful idioms like mind-numbingly boring, or the phrases bored to death or bored to tears. They're high impact, and everyone understands them.
Okay, to finish this bit, what about the opposite? What if the course is actually pretty light?
If it's easy, you could just say it's not taxing, and that the professors set pretty generous deadlines, and crucially use those informal phrases about free time. You could say, I don't have any downtime to hang out with my mates.
So using downtime, hang out with, and mates sounds really natural.
It sounds fluent and natural, yes.
So we've covered the grammar architecture all the way through to the descriptive vocabulary of student life. How do we pull it all together in a nice reflective summary?
You use synthesizing idioms to show balance. You can summarize the whole thing by saying, like most courses, it has its ups and downs, but on the whole, it's not too bad. It's a perfect summary.
And what about for that final deep thought on what it's really like to be a student?
You could comment on how hard it is to separate your studies from your life. You could say, it's a course that's hard to switch off from. That implies the subject is either so interesting or the work is so demanding that you're just always thinking about it.
That is an incredibly comprehensive and really targeted set of language. So for you listening, what does this all actually mean as you prepare?
Okay, the core goal here is not to memorize every single one of these phrases. That is going to make you sound robotic. The key is synthesis. You should select and practice maybe 4 to 5 high-impact phrases. Maybe you pick the third conditional, 1 great idiom like as courses go, and 2 strong workload words like taxing and draining.
And just master those few.
Yes. Consistency with a small, powerful arsenal is so much better than trying to remember 50 different phrases.
And it's so important to remember this language isn't just for the study topic, is it?
Absolutely not. The language we've talked about, the third conditional, phrases like, quite frankly, the vocabulary for workload and emotions. Yeah. It is so useful for other parts of the test, especially part 3. It's transferable. That's what defines a high scorer.
So with that in mind, here is our final provocative thought for you to chew on. Think about those high-level workload phrases we just covered. Heavy workload, draining, summarizing with on the whole. Now challenge yourself. Could you use those exact same phrases if the examiner suddenly switched topics and asked you about, I don't know, the challenges facing modern parents or the difficulty of starting a new business?
And that's the test. Practice adapting these structures. If you can seamlessly describe a new job as having a taxing workload and tight deadlines, you prove to the examiner that this is part of your internalized English. It's not just a memorized script for the study topic.
And that's how you hit Band 9.
Consistently.
Keep practicing, keep synthesizing, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.